Hello, awesome academic strategies class. It is April 20th, so hopefully your parents paid their taxes. That was on the 15th, but they might have had an extension. And we are in the second week of phase 3. So that is a fancy way of saying that everything you do now counts. I hope that you all did the week 4 flow when we did the memorization technique of association. And this week we're going to do the fourth technique, which is application. So hopefully you have your sheets out and you're looking at that piece of paper that says overview of memory techniques. And I am going to flip the camera around and show you what I'm talking about. All right, that was a picture of outside, so I'm putting in my phone. All right, so here we go. Make this nice and straight. Okay, here's what we got. So we did 3 memory techniques so far. Again, repetition. That was the read it, write it, and say it. Again, I'm kind of repeating this over and over again so that you learn what repetition is, right? I'm repeating visualization, I'm repeating association. We're doing it every time. I don't just go to the next one because I want you to see it and hear it many times. Okay, so again, repetition is creating those flashcards. I know when I meet someone for the first time and they say, "Oh, hi, my name's Mike." I go, "Oh, hi, Mike. Good to meet you, Mike." And I might say his name a couple times just so I am repeating that name to help remember it. Visualization, creating a mental picture in your mind. So again, I'm reading a story or someone's telling me a story and I'm trying to visualize that. I'm creating that story in my mind to help me remember the information. Even if your mom is saying, "Hey, when you go to the store, I want you to go pick up, these 3 items," and as she's saying those items to you, you're visualizing them in your mind. What you need to have, maybe visualizing yourself at the checkout counter, paying for those items. That's going to help you remember what it is you need to know. And then last week we did association. That's when we're clustering information into meaningful groups. Or sort of relating it to some old knowledge that we have. And so the example was the phone number and how we can break that up into a fewer number of digits. Or the same example of someone I meet saying, "Hi, my name's Mike." I go, "Hi, Mike, nice to meet you, Mike." I'm using repetition, but I might also say to myself, "Mike, oh," I might even say this out loud. "Oh, Mike, that's my brother's name. Oh, yeah, M-I-K-E." And so I'm relating that. I'm associating his name with something that's more meaningful to me, which is my brother's name. And so I can remember that person's name more quickly. This leads us to our fourth memorization technique. And that one is application. And you might say, "Well, application, that's what I fill out when I'm trying to go get a job and I want to work at Subway." Well, guess what? You can't work at Subway now because it's closed. Actually, I think Subway actually might be open, but you get my point. Everything's closed. So application is not something you fill out for employment. It is, but not how we're learning it in terms of memorization techniques. Application is when we're using the information and we're learning by doing. And this is actually one of the best ways to remember something, is to actually do it. I think that you can all agree that when you are creating models, if you are learning the rules of something, actually playing the game or creating the object, it's really going to help you remember things better. So let's just say I have this new learning. I need to remember all the parts of a cell. So my teacher, he wants to memorize all the parts, and I'm going to have a test on Friday. Well, your teachers in 7th grade are not super mean unless you have Mr. Clifton. He's horrible. Just kidding. He's a friend of mine. But he is mean. Just kidding. He's not. Okay. But if I need to apply that knowledge to something, well, I don't know anything about a cell. I mean, I know I've got them in my body, but it's hard for me to really remember something. So in terms of this, I might say, you know what, to remember the parts of the cell, I might I might build a cell. You might go, how do you build a cell? Cell's super small. Well, actually, in seventh grade, you're going to do that. You're going to create your own cell using stuff you have in your house. So some kids make cells and they create it out of Legos, or they might use food in their house, right? So you might build a cell to remember all the things, right? Like they've got like cytoplasm and ribosomes, right? And again, to you might use association when you're doing the cell by going, oh, ribosomes, or the mitochondria. Okay, the mitochondria, those are the powerhouses of the cell. So the mitochondria, they're mighty because they have to make big things like the factories. They build stuff. They're mighty mitochondria. You're associating that word with something else. You're applying it with something else. You're building it. Maybe you're making a mighty mitochondria or something. Okay, so building the cell is a great way for you to remember the parts of a cell. That's why your teachers do it. They don't do it to annoy you. They do it to teach you things, help you remember it. What if you need to remember how to grow plants in a garden? Like you're like, oh man, I gotta grow carrots. Okay, well, instead of memorizing all the things like you need, this much soil and this much water every day, how about you just, I'm gonna go crazy here, you just plant your garden. Okay, if you grow a garden every year, or you're doing different flowers every season or different foods every season, right? Some things grow better in fall, some things are more summer, some things are spring. If you're doing that every season, you're going to remember. You're doing it over and over again. That's that repetition piece, doing it over and over again, but you're also just doing it. No one is saying, hey, how do you grow asparagus? I don't remember. Does that grow in a tree or is it I know because I've done it. I planted my garden. Okay, so that's how I'm going to remember that kind of stuff. What about how to get to your best friend's house? Now, let me tell you a story. My brother, Mike, he is brilliant. Okay, he's got such a high IQ. He, got perfect score on SAT, everything perfect in school. But my brother has zero street smarts. Okay, because his mind is everywhere. So we've gone to my now deceased grandmother's house a bazillion times, okay? But he never paid attention. Because he just sat in the back seat and then he just got driven there, right? But when he had to drive there himself, he learned it, okay? So if I need to remember how to get to my best friend's house, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to drive there, okay? Maybe I'll bike there. Or if you don't like wheels, you have an aversion to wheels, you can do something called walking. Okay. If your friend says, oh, you turn right on East Meadow, and then you go left on Middlefield, and right on Oak, and left on Johnson, and then there's this Safeway, and there's this guy who lives in the dumpster. You make a right at the dumpster. Like that's going to be harder for you to remember, right? But if you actually do it and you actually walk it or bike it, you're going to remember it much better. I think you guys can go, that's true. Like I know how to get home because I've just done it so many times. Okay, that's the repetition, but also you're doing it. To get to some strange place, the first time you don't know where you're going, right? You're just following the map or you're going where Siri tells you to go. But after a while you don't need Siri because you've done it, now you know what it is. Okay, now what if you were to remember Mr. Torrey's birthday? That's very important. Well, I would say the first thing is to celebrate it. Okay, don't just try to memorize. It's July 13th. By the way, I'm going to let you know right now, July 13th. I'll put that in. I'm going to star it. Okay, yeah. Just memorizing that date, that's not going to do much for you. But if we celebrate it, right? You give me a card, you bake me a cake, and you come to my house, and you go, oh, Mr. Troy, happy birthday. That's cool. You're going to remember it. You're going to remember it's July 13th because that's when you baked the cake and came over. We're celebrating it. Okay? Just like this last one, how do I remember that Mr. Torrey likes dark chocolate almond clusters for his birthday? Well, what you can do is you can just give him the candy more often. Why wait until July 13th? Just give me chocolates because it's a Tuesday or because You walk by See's Candy and you know that See's Candy has the best dark chocolate almond clusters ever. And you just give it to me more often so that's something you remember. Mr. Torrey likes that candy. Okay, so again, this is application. We're doing it. We're actually physically doing something. We're not just sitting there memorizing information. Okay, we're not using association, and we're sitting there and trying to think of how those numbers are interesting to me. We're actually doing it. I'm building. I'm creating. I'm walking. Usually, it involves a lot of body movement. But again, this is sometimes the best way we can remember things. Now, this isn't always possible in the classroom, right? I mean, if we are learning about, I don't know, again, fossilization, the process of fossilization, we really can't like go out and do fossilization the way that it happens in real life, right? So we could draw a story of it. We could do a flip book of fossilization. But in the classroom, it's kind of hard to do that. But when we go home, we can do some of those things. Okay. Even if you're given a math problem, like learning a new math formula, if we say, hey, don't forget the area of the circle, areas of a circle, it's pi r squared. Okay. Well, that doesn't mean much to you when you're first learning it. But once you start applying that knowledge and you start actually doing some problems and solving it, well, suddenly that formula, you're just going to memorize it through repetition, but also just from applying what you know. Like I'm going to go and figure out the area of the bottom of this aluminum can. I think you're just doing it. Okay, so application is a great tool. It's our fourth tool that we want to go over. Again, I am super, super excited that you are all doing my YouTube channel. I've got exactly 3.7 million people tuning in to learn about memorization techniques. That is a lie. I have about four people. And my mom and dad are two of them. And I think they both got on twice, so that counts as four. That's it. Anyway, again, I still miss you, and I hate doing this from my office. This is my office. This is where I see clients when I tutor, and this is where I hide from my family when I need to get away, which I'm doing right now because they're everywhere all the time. They're always there. I love them. I'm just kidding. But I do miss you guys a lot. I wish that I saw you every day the way I saw my kids. So hopefully everyone's who hasn't come to my academic strategies class will be doing that. You're continuing to go to Miss A's class, and we're seeing each other more often online. Okay, so next time I see you will be the last week in April. We're gonna do our last memorization technique, which is mnemonics. It's hard to say. It's a weird spelling too, but mnemonics. It has an M at the start. It's weird. And that's actually one of my favorite ones. It's what got me through grad school. So anyway, I hope you're all well, and I will see you all soon. All right, thanks. Bye.